I guess the message I want to convey is, and that's been the message throughout the day, is X3 does have deep functionality, whether you're into distribution, manufacturing, right? Manufacturing, discrete, or process. There's also more to it than that. I mean, there's project management, there's CRM, there's after sales service that we haven't talked much. We haven't talked today about like EDI. We haven't talked about direct pay or EFT. We haven't talked about. I mean, there's so many areas of X3 that can accommodate your needs. So I'm going to go through a few slides, kind of highlight, touch base on some of the functions. There is a slide at the end that's kind of the recap of it. So I may fast forward and skip a few slides, but again, just a matter of giving you back 15 minutes so you can tour the ISVs or tour the booths before we wrap up in the main room. So from a financial management standpoint, right, we talked about multi-company. Again, I mean, I don't know how many times, I haven't counted how many times I've said multi today, but multiple times, multi-times, right? The multi-company, multi-site, multi-ledgers, multi-language, right, multi-currencies. I know we keep repeating it, but it is definitely a differentiator, right? Like if you're operating into multi-legislation, having the flexibility or the ability that, what you need from a compliance perspective, perhaps in Germany will be different than from the States or maybe from Canada, right? So that's a big differentiator. Dimensions, we talked about traditional segments. I mean, some of you are on Sage 300. I mean, if you want to do any kind of analysis, you do have optional fields, but with some limitations in 300. With the dimension accounting, you're allowed to shorten your chart of accounts. We've seen, and I know it took myself and Terry a little bit of time to kind of not wrap our heads, but kind of get used to perhaps a chart of accounts of 50 accounts, 34, 50, like 40 accounts. I mean, all you need, if you want to analyze revenue or income, you can have one account called revenue, and then through sites, which could be your divisions, that's one structure or one dimension, and then you could do dimensions by, again, I mentioned earlier today about product types, perhaps geography, right? Customer segments. So all of those could be dimensions, right? So that's a big differentiator. Intercompany partner management on the interco. I mean, today when I did the sales from, we've set up that bean dip from the selling location NE24 to the manufacturing location NE21. In order to MRP to generate that transfer, when we issued a PO into one company and that sales order became automatic, right? The same thing goes for intercompany transactions. You could, if you have multiple companies, a bill comes in, an invoice comes in, you actually want to allocate costs, let's say insurance. Insurance comes in and you get a global insurance policy for the whole group of companies. So that invoice can be allocated to the multiple sites attached to multiple companies, and automatically X3 will do the do from balancing on the back end. So you don't need to, all of those gets taken care of. That's a big plus if you have a lot of companies. We're doing a sawmill right now. They operate 9 companies, and they have a lot of inter-entities or inter-companies transactions. So that's going to save them a ton of time. Recurring invoice management, approval. I mean, we talked briefly about workflows today, signatures workflow. So you can design workflows for whether it's on the purchasing side, whether it's on maybe even approving a journal entry. You can build workflows and then getting people to sign off on it before they actually get posted permanently through the system. Same thing goes for notifications. I mean, we've looked at dashboards today at gadgets. If I'm in quality control or QC departments, I can have that gadget open and see, okay, when a new request comes on, there it is, or I could be notified via emails perhaps, right? So you can build those workflows. Budget, on the budget side, 3, I know I'm not sure, I don't recall if Jasdeep for Nectari touched base on the budgeting side. X3 does have natively unlimited budgets. It does have budgeting capabilities. Not advanced and super advanced budget functionalities for that. I mean, there's definitely solutions like, for instance, like True Skies. But what we've found is using Nectari SEI, they do have some budgeting tools available. Some basic, and for the most part, it does the trick for putting budgets together and then writing back to the X3 tables. Fixed assets, whether you're talking IFRS 15 or IFRS 16, those are the types of functionality that even if you're looking at norming, like a norming resource, norming asset accounting, I don't believe that they actually do handle some of those requirements from a 300 perspective. On the supply chain, we've looked at the version numbers today, ranking suppliers based on quality, based on time. I mean, you can rank that. Again, this could be also differentiators, this can also be accounted for when you're actually running your MRP as far as which supplier you're going to pick. Packing units, we talked about. Configurable pricing structure. I mean, I just showed you a basic price today, but there's so much more. There's so much you can do on pricing. We actually have an implementation right now where there's a Canadian manufacturing company, U.S. selling company. The U.S. doesn't own inventory, so basically as they sell, they do a back-to-back order. They basically replenish, they buy from the Canadian company. And what they wanted, they kind of reverse engineered this. So instead of basing the selling price off the cost, they're basing, from a transfer pricing perspective, they're basically paying, they want to issue a PO for 90% of the selling price. So US sells it. If I sell it for 100 grand, I want my purchase, I'm going to pay the Canadian company 90,000 for the goods. So again, that type of stuff anyway, certainly not on 300, you can't accomplish this. So we basically created a function, created a formula, and then the intercompany or the back-to-back order is dependent on the selling price. Supply chain, when you get into process-wise, right? So it's not a rigid process where you can start at an RFQ, request for quote, purchase request. Purchase request gets approved, maybe goes through the purchaser, goes into a purchase order, do a receipt, match the invoice against the receipt, right? But you also have alternatives with X3. So if you could go, for instance, you could go straight from an RFQ to a PO. You could go from a PO to an invoice. You could actually go from a PO to an invoice, then do the receipt after, right? And we have that in certain industries where timing-wise, that can be a challenge. Again, totally configurable workflow from a procurement supply chain perspective. What else? MRP we touched based on today. Sampling, we talked about quality assurance, quality control. I think it's quite powerful that you're able to design your own technical sheets for quality control. I did mention procession. If you're into food, pharmaceutical, procession is kind of a no-brainer to add on to X3. It brings a lot of powers around not ingredients, but nutrients, and also specifications specific to customers, right? Again, I talked about the examples of the pH levels. Perhaps I'm able to sell to, I took a QC, a control test on a lot, pH level was 7, and then this customer will not accept a product with a pH level of, let's say, 5 and up, right? So you can actually restrict the selling of the goods or shipment of the goods with certain quality control results assigned to those lots. Expiry date management, upstream, downstream traceability, so full traceability all the way, up and down. I know I deal a lot, and we deal a lot with on the seafood industry side. We always say one up, one down. What we saw today with the jalapeno bean dip, we had the main assembly, which included the actual dip, and then which included sub-assemblies for spices. So when you look, there's a lot of ingredients, a lot of moving parts. Could be multiple work order MOs, could be also multiple lots from multiple production days. So it does the full, look down or look up, if you will. So if you have an issue with a lot, where's the product, right? Is it sitting in a warehouse? Is it shipped to a customer? You need that information fairly quick from a compliance standpoint. Subcontracting management, we talked about the subcontracting BOM today briefly. Subcontracting process. So again, not only you can track process and operations on your prem, but if you own products or if you supply products for subcontracting of goods, then you can track the subcontracting process. Multi-units, we talked about multiple units of measures, packing units. Location management, restricting, right? We talked about restricting a product. You wouldn't want to put ice cream into a warm area. Maybe there's room, capacity restrictions as well. Maybe there's places where you say, you know what, let's just not store anything there. So again, you get to configure how your warehouses, on a per site basis are configured. And then on the location management as well, we talked about allocation or even picking rules. You can do some set up some advanced rules, right? I mean, where should I be picking first? What's next? What's second? What's third? When I actually put stuff away, I mean, I can basically be forced to put it to a put away location, and then from there do a transfer. Anyway, so total flexibility of on the location management, license plating, right? Basically building pallets, tracking those pallets. So you have that native. On the sales management, multiple address, multiple delivery points. Perhaps even on that, restricting even the sales of goods, perhaps in certain states, certain countries. I mean, you have that kind of functionality. Carrier management. Again, I mentioned that from a logistic perspective. X3 has all the tables and all the configurations, so you can maintain the different carriers and also maintain the rates, and the rates could be based on whatever. I mean, on weight, volume. A lot of times, even though it can be done with an X3, there's third parties that that can maintain. Right? It's one thing to say, okay, here's the rules, but what are my actual rates? So if someone has to go in and then maintain those rates on a daily basis, if they change, it may make more sense to go with an ISV with a third party that actually integrates with the carriers. Version numbering, we talked about it. Management of free products, for instance, on the selling side. Configurator, commercial configurator, we haven't spoke about that today, but configurator can be on the sales side, configurator can be on the manufacturing side. So think about, I don't know, maybe you're selling pools. So right, I'm gonna purchase a pool. Well, do you want it round? Do you want it square? Do you want a ladder? What kind of filtration system do you want to? So there's means to build those configurations. So again, starting from a kind of a base product, and then it can be, okay, well, let's assemble almost a kind of not a loose kit, but assemble the product, or here's my base, and then now let's pick maybe just one of the options. So, and you can do some pretty cool advanced logics on that. Like, if I pick this, then okay, here's my list, right? If I pick that, well, there's my list. And I actually took I attended a boot camp maybe a month ago, and even into the windows and doors manufacturing, you can get some pretty advanced calculations in there. I mean, X3 would handle that pretty good. So again, building the logics around, again, as you go bigger, and about the cut size and the waist and all of that good stuff. So you can handle it through the configurator. Allocation, we talked about global detail allocation, reservations as well. If Jeff wants to make sure that in a warehouse we keep X amount of stock for him at all time, we can do that. Perhaps Terry is, I mean, I brought in this product, but it's only for Terry. Nobody else can actually buy it. So you can do that as well. You can do commitment as well. Maybe just say, yeah, I want minimum stock, but I also want, maybe so many quantities delivered on a monthly basis. You can handle that. We talked about the container management. On the customer service, again, you can track prospect marketing campaigns, phone campaigns. So the idea is, you heard us say, talk about business partners today, right? The business partner is can be a carrier, that's a business partner you deal with, a customer and a supplier. And with X3, a customer supplier can be the same business partner. So I can buy and sell and transact with that same business partner. So I would create a business partner record, and then from the business partner record, create a supplier part of it, and then kind of create a customer part of it. So I can offset transaction, basically apply an AP against an AR type of deal, right? So when you're into the prospect opportunities. Okay, that then becomes a solid lead, or maybe they're going to become a customer, promoted to a customer, and then the whole history of the dealings of the marketing activities will follow suit with that record. We've got, anyway, so it goes on and on and on and on, and we've got 5 minutes left. So I'm going to kind of fast forward to the last slides here, because I do want to make sure we get a recap of today. But as you can see, there's a lot of functions. Again, this is probably the third cut that I made. I will share, there's a 62-page document of Sage X3 capability. That's definitely a great place to the document to refer to. Again, the other talk today will preventive maintenance. Sage X3, I want to say version 12, but it's basically, Sage X3 is being released right now on a 6 months or semi-annually. So right now, the latest and greatest is 2023 R1, which just got released last month. And they've actually released the preventive maintenance module. So there was a ISV maintenance that's here at the conference, was kind of going to for maintenance. Sage kind of look at this and say, I mean, really, if you're into manufacturing, I mean, your chances are you're going to have equipment. I mean, we should probably have a maintenance module, a preventive maintenance module. It is the first release. It's got some they're leveraging the work orders and all the tables that are in Sage X3 already. It's got some pretty good features. The next phase will be about generating PM, preventive maintenance of work orders. So today, you can schedule it, you can trigger work orders and equipment, but one of the functions that's missing right now is being able to say, you know what, yeah, that share needs to be serviced for every so many hours, so many days, and just automatically trigger the work orders based on the schedule. And little meter reading, so we're reading meters, and then based on the meter readings, setting up those, the automatic trigger of hours. Lots of more to come on the preventive maintenance, but it is available today with some pretty good functionality. Project management, again, I mentioned it a few times, but you haven't seen the screens, but pretty powerful project management from billing to tracking not only cost, but tracking task statuses, and also projects even on the manufacturing side as well. So lots of new projects. Reporting to the business and analytics, we saw SCI today. I think it's an operator, as I mentioned. We pretty much, every opportunity we talk to, if we work on an RFP or talk to a prospect, Jeff said 5, and so we give him 10, so that's good. So SCI is pretty much a warrior for every X3 project. There is a report builder, a report writer in X3 for financial reporting. You pretty much build your specs from the ground up. There's Sage Enterprise Intelligence comes with some prepackaged templates on financial statements, quite powerful to use for financial reporting, but also budgeting, and then just general BI as we started here today. So a few, I guess that's just to wrap up this session on the X3 track. And again, appreciate it if you have stuck around with us all day. Again, key takeaways, industries, right? Like is X3 for me, is X3 not for me? Again, we talk a lot about discrete process manufacturing, distribution. There's a lot of momentum, a lot of users in those verticals. But think about if you have more complex needs, right? And sometimes it can be a small business with big needs, or a big organization with small needs. X3 is really a fit for as soon as there's more complexities, right? Multiple companies, multiple countries, multiple legislations. That's that you can think of X3. Different organizations will follow. Again, I mentioned this. Perhaps we've been running Sage through that, and now we've just been acquired by a larger corporation. Maybe you're looking at that, looking at scaling up, right? Those are the types of kind of not red flags, but kind of initiators or triggers that may be time for you to look at X3. Deployment options. We talked about the differentiator between the 300, the X3, and the Sage Intacct. I mean, X3 is not a full SaaS SaaS model, if you will, right? Like you need servers to run it. It's not really a multi-tenant because of the architecture. Again, more and more though, we do have, you offer the EBAS cloud for hosting. It's a single tenant private cloud hosting. But the thing is, it's web-based on the ground up, right? So it's not, you don't need to deal with terminal servers you're hosting it to access it. So as long as you have your VPN and your network provision, then you're able to access it from anytime, anywhere, whether it's in the cloud or on-prem. The thing with the deployment as well is, some organization will say, yeah, I like the SaaS because I don't need to worry about upgrades, I don't need to worry about that. But on the flip side, and again, there's not, I'm not saying what's best or what's not, but the factors to consider is you don't necessarily have control of when that upgrade is going to happen. Right? Not that it's surprising overnight there's an upgrade, but with a private cloud or an on-prem implementation, you control, and a lot of times when you get into more customization, right, enhancements, you don't want to basically take advantage of whatever everybody else has because you've built so much on your own and have you want full control of that environment. Faster, intuitive, tailored. Again, faster. Some of you may be discouraged by what we're saying 12, 15 months implementation. But again, if you consider this against the, I'm going to say the Oracle of the world and the SAPs of the world, again, don't get me wrong, we're not saying that we're competing head-to-head with these guys, but we're like, based on the RFPs and opportunities we work on, we're at 80%, 90%, I'm going to say 80% of functionality for a quarter of the price, right? So in deployment time, we're half and a third and a quarter of the time as well. So again, when you think about taking the wrap out of the box, it does come in with some vanilla, if you will, vanilla process. We looked at the process flows, we looked at the roles, we looked at the screens, right? A lot of things is configured or pre-configured. It comes with standard chart accounts, but then you also have the flexibility and the ability to go in, again, bring in your actual chart accounts, enhance it, create more custom screens, the screens. You can technically build your own modules if you want to. I look at X3 as an ERP development platform. I think there's so much tools that you're able to leverage to create your own process. The architecture, again, the multi architecture, the fact that it's a single database where you have multiple companies, we talk about test folders, pilot folders, production folders, it's still a single database in essence. So that's a big advantage. Global solutions, fairly this morning, shared some numbers, right? It is, X3 was originally a Donix, European-based company. They're really global players. It's kind of interesting when you're on X3, whether it's X3 University or boot camps or conference calls. There's people from literally all over the place. Like it's, we're from down Mountain Project, Edmonton, and then it's, right? It's really a global product. And it's got a very strong presence and pretty much everywhere in the globe. We talk about multi-language, 15 language max. And again, just to wrap up, I just had to wrap up the multi, right after you say it again. So it's, again, that's what the team is definitely the differentiator. Again, it's definitely in the Sage portfolio from the Sage Impact or Sage standpoint. Just the fact that handles the multi. So I don't know if there's any questions, comments. Hopefully today was helpful. It is a challenge when we did I will say that doing distribution, manufacturing, and turning in Sage is a bit of a challenge, almost mission impossible, but hopefully it was enough of a teaser to get you dreaming, or get you to, not necessarily, I don't want to say get you dreaming, but give you a good understanding is X3 at least something that should be considered, right? And to me is what you're seeing here on the screen, right? What does it look like? What does your customer look like, right? It is definitely upper scale. We're not looking at selling downstream. You got to really be careful to, and we'll talk about this in our role that, if you're in over your head from, maybe it's budget, maybe it's resource, right? This is definitely, with flexibility comes complexity, so it definitely is a robust product, but we need to approach it properly.